Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM. Coming up on the screen now are the links to our social media, including things like our Discord server where you can chat to us and other like-minded people about wonderful things like cars, tractors, trains, diggers and all kinds of wonderful gubbins. Today we are indeed back at the shed to have a look at one of the most requested vehicles we have ever had, which is this. Our Landlords Massey Ferguson 690 tractor. We have more requests for this thing than we do for anything else in the shed, which is upsetting because this isn't something that belongs to me. And for your entertainment today, it's me and Ash. So welcome to LMM Drives.
I'm Ash, and it looks like I'm part of the team now. So, this is a Massey Ferguson 690 multi-power. It was made in 1984. It's 80 horsepower. It was rated at 62 horsepower on the PTO. I have no idea why Massey do their numbers like that, but 90% of other tractor makers do it as well. She's got a Perkins engine in her, which revs right up to 2,200. It's a Perkins A4.248, so a good quality engine. They're 4.1 litres. These Perkins engines are the most reliablest engines I've ever come across. You're very, very unlikely to kill a Perkins engine. So they're brilliant like that. I did do a turbo version of this, but that wasn't very good because all they done was just take a turbo, say this is your turbo, and they just slapped it onto the manifold, and that was it. That was classed as a turbo, and they only done that on the 690s. So it went from a 690 to a 690T. So you got a little bit more horsepower, not a lot, but a little bit. And top speed on this one is 18.9 miles an hour, which is really, really fast. They did do a four-wheel drive version of this, but that wasn't very good. They took the axle from another tractor and just slapped it onto this one and went, yep, it's now four-wheel drive. But that was prone to wear, and there was so many moving parts. It was the most complicated one of all time, and I mean it was really complicated. I've had to fix one of the axles before on the front. It's got so many moving parts, it's ridiculous. But we ended up just taking the four-wheel drive prop shaft off and just left it as two-wheel drive. But yeah, the parts are incredibly hard to get. But anyway, back to this tractor.
So the Massey Ferguson 690 presented here in this rather stunning charcoal grey and red colour scheme, which is, well, standard Massey colours, but this one I think wears it particularly well. And the most striking feature is the very large Italian cab, which was, I think, one of the main selling points of the entire 600 series was this bit. And generally, I don't like tractors with a cab. They're far too modern for my tastes. And this one, well, actually, I kind of like it, but I don't think it's actually a tractor that I want.
That's very surprising.
It's not kind of old enough. It's got the old kind of shape to it, and I do like when you see this next door to a modern tractor, and I like the front grille and the front headlights. But it just doesn't quite have the, compared to like my 35, it's got a real nice kind of cute factor that modern tractors don't have. And this one, this is bordering on cute. Would you say this is cute?
I'd say this is cute, yeah.
Is this something you'd have, or?
Yeah, it's definitely something I'd have.
But then you've got kind of use for it, whereas I'm kind of like, this looks like a kind of fun thing to have.
Yeah, I'd end up putting it on a topper and a hedge cutter and go out and do some money work with it.
But I guess this is what it still is. This is still a just about working tractor.
You could easily go out and make money with this on horse fields and stuff like that.
I mean, it's basically what it does around here on the farm. It still does a bit of hedge cutting, a bit of flail, bit of grass cutting. It's not heavy work anymore. I don't think.
No.
Well, heavy work would kill it, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, that'd definitely kill it.
Because it's one of the things I know they talked about going onto the four-wheel drive. Is if you have a four-wheel drive option on this, it makes hell of a difference to what it can actually do. Which is, when you say it out loud, that's so blindingly obvious. It's painful. But apparently, yeah, two-wheel drive was okay. The four-wheel drive made a big difference to the tractor.
Yeah, if you got a plough on the back of this, you'd only be able to pull about a 3-far on clayey land. But if you got four-wheel drive, you'll be able to pull a 4-far.
I mean, it really does make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah,
all the wheels turn, more traction, more pulling. Now, one of the nice things about this is it's pretty original. That's quite good. This hasn't been mucked around with, it hasn't been resprayed, and apparently that's really big at the moment in the tractor circles, is originality and things being, but this is wearing its work clothes. There's a couple of slight dinks in the paintwork and scratches on it, but it's a working tractor. This is how it was, and it's kind of quite rare to get these in this kind of condition.
Oh, it's very rare. You never see these ever in this condition. Not original anyway.
So what's your favourite thing about it? I quite like, I like the cab with it, and I like the thing that I like and dislike most. I don't really know, it's the most striking feature is the fact the cab ends here, like in the middle of the rear wheels. I kind of expect the bodywork to kind of carry on a bit over the back of it.
Well,
and when you see it go past in profile, you're like...
Well, you look at the new ones now, and the cab's near enough end at the front of the rear wheels.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So you can't see the rear hitch at all.
Oh, really?
Unless you got a camera or a mirror mounted on the rear window.
That's weird. I find it weird that it's just like slap bang in the middle. It kind of, I think it's because the wheel arches go further back.
Yeah.
That's what gives it this weird, because I kind of want to see the cab going all the way back.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to quite...
Well, the only ones of this age what done that was John Deere SG2 cabs.
Okay.
They went right back over the rear axle.
Because I'm thinking like the JCB C3C or whatever it is series where they have the kind of the pyramid shaped ones, but the cab goes all the way back down. Yeah. That's what I kind of expecting when I look at this, and I look, it's slightly strange.
Yeah, John Deere's cabs were further back, and they had rounded fronts.
Yeah,
they were really good. I like them.
So I do like the boxy shape of this. It's very, very 80s. And it's got some really kind of nice features, like it was well liked from where you are, the access to everything, so you can get to all your things like your oil and dipsticks and everything quite easily. Oh. And then the bonnet opens up nicely as well, doesn't it?
Just like that.
Yeah, and then you've got your air filter is just inside there, isn't it?
Yeah. Filter is in there.
So that's easy to get to.
Which you have to take the front grille off to get to.
Oh, but that just pops off as well, doesn't it? That's a simple,
pops off.
Quick release system.
Grill off.
Yeah, with the fancy kind of connection for the lights and everything.
Yeah.
Then, and it's the same on the other side. It's just everything's quite easy to get to. It's got a nice little toolbox on the side, which has.
That's optional extra.
That has seen better days.
Yes, that's definitely seen better days.
Is that actually a Massey one, or has that been repainted?
No, that's a John Deere one.
I see, because the red paint on that is the only thing on the whole tractor.
That shape there gives it away for where the logo should be, for John Deere.
You are such a tractor nerd.
Yeah.
You are. Yeah. So other things on this that are quite cool is it's one of the last tractors, I think, that was produced, at least by Massey, that had big metal fuel tanks. They've kind of started to move away by this point, going, the metal rots and dropped all the fuel everywhere, whereas plastic ones were the way forward. And at least with these are, those slung on the underside, they are quite high off the ground, keeping them away from all the wet and horrible stuff and away from, oh look, I've driven over a rock and it's hit my fuel tank.
Well, I also moved away from them for condensation.
Right.
Obviously, metal fuel tanks make more condensation than plastic.
And then you get more water in your fuel.
You get more water in your fuel filters.
And if I'm correct, and this is an LMM top hint coming up here, LMM top tip, water in your fuel is bad.
Yeah, it's very bad, especially if you don't change your filters and it goes into your injectors and your injector pump. They're pretty much dead then.
Nah, they'll be fine. You can compress water, it doesn't do any harm at all.
No.
So other things you might notice about this one is it's got lights on it. It's got indicators here, headlights, everything. Because this was a road registered tractor way back in the day. It's not anymore because the farm doesn't need it. But the farm used to be significantly bigger, and this would have been out on the roads. One application this tractor found a load of use for was being used as a load shovel. They put a bucket on the front end and use it for, as an name suggests, loading things. And this is because the ratio of reverse and second are the same. So you can zoom onto something, pick it up and reverse away at the same rate, which is quite useful rather than having a very slow reverse gear where you crawl away backwards. It means you can be a lot more efficient and go in, out, up, down. So that's quite good. On the subject of the gearbox, it's that 3-speed box. There's no synchro on first, which is not that uncommon, but it does have synchro between second and third, meaning that you can change gear on the run. And this is something that apparently wasn't too common not that long before this tractor. For instance, my little 35, and I know the T20 beforehand, you're meant to select a gear and then you go off in that gear. You're not meant to change gear on the run. Whereas this, well, you can, which saves strain on the gearbox by able to start off in a lower gear and then change up your gears to get filled up to speed, rather than just going, haha, take all the power of third gear and the torque, and away we go. So that's good. Now, this one isn't actually fitted with the default gearbox. These things came out the factory fitted with something called the Synchro 12. And this was a bit of a strange thing. You had 3 levers down between my legs. You had 3 forward gears, and then a high and low range box. But in the middle, you had what's effectively called a splitter, which basically gives you another gear within a gear. So you had first and then other first, second, other second, etc., etc. And this was a little bit complicated, and also for users, after you've been going a bit and you got the hang of the box, it became a little bit tedious because it would go, drive, change, and just, it was a little complex. You had to be moving multiple things around all the time, and it just wasn't overly well received by users. This one is fitted with multi-power, which means I only have 2 sticks between my legs. I've got the 3-speed gearbox and I've got high-low range. I have the splitter on the dash, which is drop the clutch, flick it up, and we engage a slightly different gear. Another gear gets dropped in there, and you can hear the whine from the rear end, or at least I can hear the whine from the rear end, which explains that that has been a success and that is engaged. And if I drop it back down, it's fine. I'm not sure if I need the clutch for that. It seems to flick relatively happy without the clutch, but I'm playing it safe because it's not my tractor. Now, both of these gearboxes seem to develop the reputation for being actually pretty good. They took a lot of strain and they didn't really go wrong. The multi-power was actually quite a big selling point. It wasn't a brand new thing when it was fitted to this tractor, but it does allow you to run multiple implements at the same time. Now, if you take my 35, for example, I can operate the hydraulics on that, or I can change over a tap and I could operate, say, a trailer. This would allow you to do both those actions at the same time, and this would be very useful for farming applications. I just don't really know enough about it to know anything how it would work, but I'm told useful, definitely useful. So one of the most remarkable things about this is just how good a condition the back end is. We gave this a clean before bringing it out, and the paint's come up like, well,
that looks like a new tractor.
It does. The paint's new, and the wings on the inside here, now they've been cleaned, that's the original shade of Massey red. The rest of it has now faded over time, like the bonnet and everywhere, but that's still basically brand new. There's a slight oil leak on that you might see, and that's, we had a trailer out earlier behind this, and the hose on that leaks. It's not the tractor. All the seals on this are actually...
Yeah, this isn't leaking any oil. The trailer pipe only leaks because someone forgot to disconnect it and drove away with it.
Yeah, they didn't do a good job of that. That's not me. That's not indicated to me. That was somebody else.
No, surprisingly, that wasn't Lawrie.
Yeah. Thanks for surprising. That really helps. So, the hydraulics on this are meant to be quite good. They're well renowned, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're really good hydraulics on this. It's one of the first ones to get double acting spool valves, which means you pump it one way, you've got pressure, and you pump it the other way, you've got pressure.
Okay, so before this you had it as a one-way valve, and then gravity brings it back down?
Yeah, like normal tipper trailers.
Okay, so that was quite advanced at the time.
So if you got a hydraulic pump on the back of this, and it blocks up spinning one way, you just stop it and then spin it the other way, and that'll clear it.
Oh, fair, but that also must mean that you can run a lot more implements through it because you can reverse the flow.
Yeah, you can do double acting rams and things like that.
And this was a copy of something else that Massey had license for, right?
Yeah, this is a Uterus.
Who made Uterus? Are they Polish or something?
Polish or something like that. Yeah, they're not very common.
I've heard of them, but I don't know who they are. I know on the continent, lots of people have talked about Uterus tractors.
Yeah.
But I don't really know. I don't know much about them full stop. But
no, you don't see them very often over here.
Oh, fair enough.
Now, this is one of the first tractors to have cat-free open-end link arms.
Oh yeah, because this is good. You can, rather than like my one, you have to unpin everything, undo the split pins and not split pins. What are they called? Catch pins.
Catch pins.
Yeah, I don't know what they are. The spring-loaded things.
Lynch pins. That's the one.
We're good at this.
We are good.
This I don't even know how it works. You kind of hit it and they come out. So there's a clicky thing.
Yeah, what you do is you have the ball already in the pin, and you just back up to it, lift the link arms up, and that'll latch in.
And then to release it's that little lever thing.
And then to release it, you just lift these up, and that drops off.
This is advanced stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
It is very advanced for this age. I mean, I know some tractors now what still have the old type. There's one tractor was down the road from me, and that's a 2010 machine, and that's still got the original arms on, like the old style, with balls all still in the arms.
This is not cutting edge, but this was quite cool when it came out.
It is, yeah. The other feature on this tractor was this, which is the external control for the arms. But you can't really hold the arms and do that at the same time, because you've got to push that up and operate it at the same time.
But I guess it meant that you could connect up to something without having to jump back into the...
You could, yes, but it's not very easy. I've tried using it, putting the top on, and it's not easy at all. And this has still got the original tipping point for the screw-on spools instead of the push-fit spools now. Because no one has the screw-on spools no more. They've all just got quick-release ones, which is a lot faster and a lot cleaner. Cost of this brand new in 1984 was 13 grand. Compared that to a David Brown of the same spec, the David Brown was 9,800. But that was before you added everything on to the David Brown than what this has. Because there's a lot of extras on this which are standard, which is why it's more expensive, because there's a lot of standard stuff rather than extras. So you got a lot more tractor for your money, but it was all standard and you didn't have to pay for anything extra. Well, I suppose you do in the long run of the general price of it.
So this little beastie weighs just over 3.5 tons.
But you can make it up to about 4.5 tons with all the extra weights you can put on it.
It's actually quite a lot of extra ballast on it, isn't it?
That is a lot of extra ballast.
Because some of it will go on the front, yeah, you get some nice big weights.
You can get probably about 400 or 500 kilos on this.
Yeah.
And it's got wheel weights in it, which are these 4 bolts.
Okay.
I don't know how much they weigh, because they don't actually say. I did try looking, but couldn't find any. Yeah, they weigh some weight. You won't want to lift them, that's for certain. And you can get weights to go on the rear wheels as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
And you've also got, if you look on that, you've got clamps for rear dual wheels.
Ah, which is what
them clamps are.
That makes sense.
They hold dual wheels on.
Ah, because on that we can adjust the front axle as well, couldn't we? That's an adjustable front axle.
On these bolts here. You can move it in and out.
For different crops and stuff?
Yeah, for different crops. So you can go between the rows of sugar beet. That's mainly what it's for, and the rows of potatoes.
So does the back axle move in and out as well, or is that
No, you have to take the dish off.
Yeah.
And then spin the dish round and put the wheels on different sides, and it's quite hard to get right, the rear wheels.
That sounds like a massive pain in the...
That is. I mean, we've done it on the farm before with one of our John Deeres, what used to do all the beat work, and trying to get them wheels right was an absolute pig. It used to take us about a day.
Really?
Yeah. Because obviously ours is 4-wheel drive front axle, so we had to do the front wheels as well.
Oh, okay. Thinking of the axle, looking at this angle as well, it's basically the same design as my 35. I mean, obviously the track rod goes in, whereas on mine they come all the way back to the steering box onto the steering wheels.
Yeah.
But you can see a real kind of lineage straight back to my one.
Yeah, it's just beefed up a hell of a lot compared to yours, so it can take the extra weight.
Oh yeah.
And this has also got power steering.
Yeah, of course, which makes life a lot nicer to...
Oh yeah.
It's actually a really nice thing to drive, isn't it?
It's beautiful to drive.
It's just... It's a little bit too refined for my taste, almost. But
no, it's still got an AM/FM radio.
Oh, that's true. I mean, that's quality.
That's quality, and it works.
Yeah? well, most of the stuff doesn't. Do you know one of the things I do like are these mirrors up here? They just look so weird stuck out.
They do look very weird. They're not very good at being mirrors though, are they?
Do you find they move?
I find they move and they don't really show what's behind you.
No, I had them all set up, went for a lap round, and they'd all kind of jutted themselves out.
Yeah.
Oh, these are useless.
They are useless. You've not even got an interior mirror.
Well, you're right, you don't. That's weird.
Nope.
I'll tell you one thing I do like though. Now, this is a really weird thing. I like this handle here. I like the button in it. It's just, you know, some things, like, especially I found with modern vans when I've been driving, you go for the door handle and you pull it and you feel like it's going to come off in your hand. Whereas that's a proper feel.
That's sturdy, that is.
Yeah, that's a proper sturdy door. And it's one of the things about this tractor as well, that when it came out, it was described as being akin to climbing a mountain to get inside of it. Having the 2 steps climbing up, this is a high driving position for a tractor back in the day, apparently.
No, it is quite a tall tractor for the horsepower what it is.
Oh yeah, I think it's one of the things I do like about it. It just looks a bit. It does look a bit tall, doesn't it?
It looks like it's got more horsepower than what it has.
Yeah, it looks like a proper tractor.
It do look like a proper tractor.
But I mean, this whole shape of it, this maybe was one of the things that kind of was in when it was at a showroom. This was its whole look at our new shiny tractor. It was all part of the style of it.
I mean, the cab looks big from the outside, but when you get in it, it feels very small.
So driving the tractor, well, you know what? It's a lovely thing to drive. I've got this nice big padded suspension fitted seat which bounces up and down quite nicely and takes a load of the bumps out. Combined with the big rear tyres, it drives across this fairly bumpy track with, well, relative ease. It's quite comfortable. I imagine if I was out on the road, it'd actually be a very, very pleasant ride. The steering itself, well, there's a tiny bit of slack in the steering, but when you get past that, it's amazing. It's very, very light compared to the other tractors that I've driven, which are, well, my ones don't have power steering. It's lovely, and it feels very precise. As soon as you start turning, you get past that little bit of play. Very, very nice. And it has an amazing log. I'm pretty sure this will turn around in basically a circle of almost its length. I could drive circles around the tractor with the tractor. Yeah, that makes sense. The visibility is super everywhere. Very nice big front window, and it's a tiny bonnet, especially compared to modern tractors. So I've got good visibility, well, everywhere in front of me. And I really like these 2 little windows in front of me. They're very useful. It means I can see my front wheels, which is very useful for placement for doing plant and farming based activities, to be able to see where your front wheels are to line it up for ploughing, so you can see where the other furrowy thing is, or crops. You can continue to make sure you are in the tyre track so you don't destroy more crops. That's very good. The only thing I'm not overly fond of really is the throttle position. That's right the way up here. So to use the foot accelerator, I have to have this kind of leg spread feel, and I just feel a bit weird. It's a kind of, I don't really feel like I need to stretch or split my feet that far, or it's just weird being over there. I much like it if it was down here. Just seems unnecessary there. So for most of the driving, I just use the hand throttle and set it and drive off. The clutch too. Now I don't think this is a fault of the machine so much as just wear, but I have to push the clutch a very long way down to get it to fully engage. And the seat doesn't move back or forward. It goes up and down to give you more leg room, but I'm still finding that I'm right on the very extent of how far I can push something when I come to the end of actually using it. So I feel with the clutch that I could do with moving the seat a little bit closer just to make sure that I have fully engaged it. I have here independent brakes for both sides, which I can disconnect and use both the left and the right brake. And one of the very cool things about this is the diff lock has a catch on it. I can push it down and lip it onto a catch, which means that it will continue to stay engaged. Other tractors I've driven, and I think some other tractors of the period, you had to keep your foot down on the diff lock to keep it engaged. And that would become quite tiring, whereas this you go, ooh, I'm slipping a bit, I'm going to need the diff to lock, push it down, engage it, which is just there in a very handy and easy to reach place, and away you go, no problems. Which is pretty good actually. I think that's a very cool thing. Apart from that, the dash is very simple. I've got a little rev counter there which tells me what revs I'm doing, and a nice big sticker in the middle of the windscreen which tells me the equivalent revs to speed, which is quite a useful thing to have. I do like the fact that both the side windows open and the rear window, as you can see, is wide open as well to allow some draft to get through. Because even on a cloudy day like today, it's quite warm in here, and I feel that I do have a blower up here, a heater and a cool air blower. I do still feel it would get a trifle warm. There is a sunroof up there as well, but it's just one of the things of early tractors cabs. For the visibility out of the doors, well, they're nice big windows, but I've got glove boxes, little side panels either here and there, one of which has got the original manual for the tractor. But I would like the glass to go a little further down to give me a little more visibility down there. Also, the rear mudguards are maybe a little long. If they're a bit short, it would just give me a bit more visibility off the back there. But all in, for a tractor with a cab, it's pretty good. Welcome to the cab, and the most striking thing about it is it's orange.
Yeah, it's a horrible colour.
It's striking.
It makes the cab feel a lot smaller than what it actually is.
You know what? It makes it feel very 70s. It's like it's definitely come from the last... This looks like a 70s colour scheme.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's basically carpet up there.
Yeah, it's literally all it is. Carpet screwed onto something.
It's also a very weird head unit up here, because up here across the top there we have the blower unit, and that's quite nice up there, but that seems a little unusual having it like that.
Yeah, it is a little unusual.
I mean, obviously I'm used to cars where I have the blower unit here, so having everything up here, strange. On the other hand, overhead controls are cool. It's cool reaching up and turning on a very noisy blower unit.
Yeah.
Because if we turn the ignition on, I turn that up, it roars away, but it does actually chuck some cool air out. Now, there are a couple of flaws in here. For instance, the trim that side has started to fall apart.
Yeah.
And one of the things this tractor was praised for when it came out was it has here a blind. Now, presumably the blind has failed because it's all tied up.
Yeah, I wouldn't undo that.
I want to undo it. I want to see what happens when we undo it. Because I can see it's disconnected at one side for you.
Yeah, the screws come out here.
But, oh wow, this is a long piece of... There we go. Look at that.
Yeah, you're meant to pull this cord and it's meant to wind itself back up. But that doesn't do anything anymore.
No, so that's knackered.
Yes.
Things that are nice, the seat's actually really comfortable, and it has these armrests that go up and down, which actually is quite nice to have armrests on this.
It is, it's lovely.
And the best feature about the entire tractor, radio.
Yeah.
Although it only works on AM because it is that old, so...
But you can get smooth FM or smooth AM, which is perfect for topping in this age of tractor.
You can also find a lot of foreign channels. A lot of foreign
weird
there's
stuff. A lot of foreign weird stuff.
The dash, though, is quite cool. What I like here is we've got the fuses just across the centre there. And I really like this combined water and fuel gauge.
Yeah, that's good, that is.
That's all you need to know, apparently. You've got water, you haven't overheated, and there's diesel in it.
Yep.
There's a couple of warning lights across, so we've got handbrake on, low oils.
Low level transmission, transmission over temperature, oil pressure, and battery.
That's good.
And that one there is your air filter.
Oh, we're saying that's...
Saying it's blocked.
But there is a weird thing with this, because there's also a sensor for the hydraulics. And if you've got a block on your hydraulics, it will illuminate that as well. They're wired in together.
Oh.
I read that, yeah. So that's a strange thing. So if the light comes up, you don't know if you've got a block on your hydraulics or is the air filter.
Let's start with the air filter.
Yeah, that's probably the easier one.
Yeah.
The other nice sort of things of the age, there's a little ashtray there, which is... There's this weird thing on the seat here, which is... I don't know what that does.
That's meant to move the seat back and forth, like back.
Oh, okay. And we do have a nice lever down here, which I think adjusts the height of it. There's a little gauge.
The weight.
The weight. Oh, so how much springiness it is?
Yeah.
Oh.
So if you only weigh 80 kilos, you can adjust it so it's not rock solid. Or if you weigh 180 kilos, you're going to do it so you're not sitting on the floor.
Because one thing I have seen about this that people didn't like is the seat was super springy, and it tended to, when driving at speed over a field, catapult people's heads into this piece here. And there was a lot of kind of ill feeling towards that bit of the design, and a lot of sore heads. Apart from that, the rest of the controls are nicely laid out. We've got a nice little control here for the lights. You push it in for the horn. The multi-power splitter thing is there.
Yeah.
Brakes are there. High-low range there. Gearbox in the middle.
You got clutch this side. Indicators here. You got high beam there. No, that's hazards.
That's hazard. High beam next door to it.
And that's high beam or white lights. I can't remember which one that is. That's work lights, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
your
it.
high beams over on that twisty knob.
Yes, you keep twisting all the way around and it comes on. But if you push the high beam on,
you lose the front lights and you get back work lights, which is...
We're sure it's not meant to be like that?
No, it's not meant to be like that.
We feel there's maybe some mistake with that, but we're not quite sure. And then, yeah, the fuse box in the middle with Italy written on it, which, if I understand electronics, is almost as good as saying it's got Lucas inside it.
But the plate down here says it's French.
Ah, yes. So this is a French Massey Ferguson 690, but they did make them in the UK. The two-wheel drive one was made in Coventry until 1894, which is when this tractor came about, which means that it's a bit confusing if you didn't have the plate there to which one it is. And I know that the owner has on occasion had to go get parts for it, and they said, is it English or a French one? He went, oh, it's a 1984 one, and they went, well, that could be either. But yeah, very much a French one. They did all of the four-wheel drive ones, and yeah, for some reason, for a year, they built some of them in England, which it doesn't make any sense to build the same tractor, but with a different front end.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
And then they saw sense and made them all in France, which meant that the wheels vary between the English one and the French ones, because I think we were still using inches and they were using metric, and so the rear diameters. For tractor nerds, there's something interesting there. So everything in here is quite easy to get to. The spool valves are just within easy reach, maybe a little bit of a reach, but the rear linkage is just right by the side of your hand.
Yeah.
It's all just, it's quite nicely laid out.
Yeah, you got your PTO down here.
Oh yeah, and that's IPTO, isn't it?
Yeah, it's IPTO. So it's clutchless PTO.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd have to put your foot on the clutch.
Yeah.
This was cool. The IPTO was a cool thing that this had. And then going back to the dash, well, actually, what's that? Is they're saying you've got trailer lights, so you've got indicators, and that's saying that's working on the first trailer and that's working on the second trailer.
So you can tow two trailers.
And that's showing your repeaters work for both of them.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Then what I keep putting my hand on here, that's the hand throttle, so you can set your throttle, which is obviously linked to your foot throttle down there. And this is when this came out, the kind of idea of having a flat floor cab was still something that was a bit unusual.
Yeah, it's not, that weren't really heard of until they brought this out.
Yeah. So obviously, like my 35, you kind of straddle the transmission. And that's one of the reasons this is so high, because the cab is above it. And the cab's floating, isn't it? It's on rubber bushings.
It's on rubber stops.
Which make it a bit smoother being in here.
Yeah.
But it was all, this was all quite modern and all quite cool when it came out.
Yeah.
The 600 series has got a bit of a reputation for not being, how do we say, Massey Ferguson's finest moment. And we'd mentioned earlier there's not many of these kicking around. And some of the faults are things like the side lights. If you turn them on in the dark, all they actually do is illuminate the side glass here and the wings. They don't actually help you see, and by illuminating the side of it, it just makes you blind to what's in front of you.
And also these front ones, because they're only on a connection point there, they quite often fail.
Yeah, because
you could be driving along the road with lights, and all of a sudden it just goes dark.
Which is less than ideal. However, the big thing that really killed these off is that they rot. The cabs rot and the doors rot.
Yeah.
It's something to do with, there's a lip, isn't there, on the window?
Yeah, and it's condensation from inside the window, drops down, sits there, and then rots it away.
Now, this one has been dry stored its entire life, and this one does have the rot on the doors. Yeah. There's only a bit of it, and the door hasn't disappeared yet. No. And there's a couple of specks of rust appearing around the chassis of the cab.
The most rust is on the wheels.
Yeah, and that's mostly surface.
Yeah.
And that's not where they're meant to go, funnily enough. They meant to go on there. And sending a picture to a round of this and seeing other pictures, when a picture of one of these appears in this kind of condition, Massey Ferguson fans are amazed, because they just don't survive. If you leave it outside, the cab just goes.
No, I think this has been reconditioned and refurbed, when it hasn't.
No, so this is a rare little tractor. And they did have, amazingly, in its 3-year production life, a load of upgrades. Starting with the handbrake used to be on the floor, and apparently you get to basically give yourself a hernia and slip a disc, bending right down to put the handbrake on. And that moved over, I think, in the year that this one is, to next door to the driver on the left-hand side. Before that, I think it was 84 that moved. They also changed the steering, because apparently it used to be basically a vertical steering column, and that got moved and be adjustable as well. And they also adjusted the length of the controls for the spools and for the rear linkage, because apparently you'd spin round and you click it with your elbow and knock the thing down.
Well, The PTO is good at sticking on as well.
Oh yeah, that was another fault with it. The PTO was known for just not disconnecting and just sat there continuing to spin.
Yeah, which is highly dangerous.
Yeah. So not the greatest thing out of Massey Ferguson.
No, not at all.
And it's kind of it's fair to say that they didn't actually sell that way. I mean, most of the country, with the exception of one area, didn't really buy them. Apart from here in East Anglia, where they sold like hotcakes apparently. These was a very popular tractor in this part of the world and nowhere else.
Which is very strange.
I guess it's the size of it. It kind of worked for farms in this area.
I suppose the farms were a lot smaller around here, but you'd have thought the farms around Dorset would have been small as well.
Yeah, I don't know why they sold well over here. I'm assuming somebody in the comments will be able to enlighten us to what made this such a perfect East Anglian tractor. But I guess it's part of our heritage in a way, being East Anglian boys, to have a East Anglian selling tractor that the rest of the world didn't want. Maybe
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I've got no idea. Absolutely no idea. And that brings us to the end of this socially distant review of the Massey Ferguson 690.
Yeah, I hope you've liked this review with me and Lawrie this time. If you have, hit the like button down there, and if you wouldn't mind subscribing to us, that would really help us.
It makes a really big difference, and the bigger we get, the more we can do. So have you enjoyed seeing us look at tractors? If so, leave us a comment, let us know what you like, what you'd like to see us try to do, and of course if you've got a tractor and you'd like it to appear on the channel, then get in contact. And of course, please guys, help us grow by sharing this video with your tractor friends, and how about just spamming it to your non-tractor friends as well, see if they can kind of enjoy this kind of thing. So that's it guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this one, how about watching this review over there of the Massey Ferguson 30 that I found in America, or how about this one here of the first start of my own Massey Ferguson 35 that used to work on the same farm as this one. Thanks for watching guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.